The zodiac sign of Gemini, the 21st of May to the 20th of June, is symbolized by the twins. Gemini aligns with the period between Beltane and Litha, marking the transition from the fertility and celebration of Beltane to the peak of summer at the summer solstice. As the days grow longer and warmer, Gemini embodies the energy of movement, communication and social interaction. The two brightest stars in Gemini, Castor and Pollux, are among the brightest in the night sky. Pollux, the brighter of the two, is actually an orange giant star, while Castor is a multi-star system composed of 6 individual stars. Gemini is most predominantly visible in the northern hemisphere during winter months, reaching its highest point in the sky around midnight in January. The Geminid meteor shower, one of the most reliable and active meteor showers of the year, occurs annually in mid-December. The meteors appear to radiate from the constellation of Gemini. In ancient times, the appearance of Gemini in the night sky marked the beginning of the winter solstice, a significant event in many cultures and calendars. The glyph represents the Roman numeral for 2, which shows the dual nature of the sign. The constellation of Gemini, also known as the twins, has inspired myths and legends across different cultures throughout history. Perhaps the most famous myth associated with Gemini comes from Greek mythology, where the constellation represents the twin brothers, Castor and Pollux. According to the myth, Castor and Pollux were born from the union of Leda, queen of Sparta, and Zeus, who appeared to her in the form of a swan. Castor was mortal, while Pollux was immortal. They were known for their bravery and skill in battle. And after Castor's death, Pollux asked Zeus to let him share his immortality with his twin. As a result, the two were placed in the heavens as the constellation of Gemini, where they are depicted as holding hands. In Norse mythology, the constellation of Gemini is associated with the story of the inseparable twins, Hjuki and Bil. These siblings were tasked with carrying a pole with buckets of water from the well of Mimir. However, they were abducted by the moon god Mani and placed in the sky as the stars of Gemini, where they are forever chasing the moon across the heavens. In Babylonian mythology, the constellation of Gemini was associated with the story of the great twin gods, Luguria and Mesmatia. The twins were seen as protectors of the heavens and were often depicted holding hands. They were believed to bring balance and harmony to the world, and were honoured in rituals and ceremonies. The Sumerian mythology of Enki and Enlil, often regarded as twin brothers or close siblings, bears intriguing parallels with the constellation of Gemini. Enki, also known as Ea, was the god of wisdom, water and magic, while Enlil was the god of wind, air and storms. Their relationship was complex, marked by both cooperation and rivalry, reflecting the dualistic nature often associated with twins. Enki and Enlil were born to different mothers, but shared the same father, Anu, the god of the heavens. This familiar connection mirrors the notion of twins being born from the same origin, yet possessing distinct qualities and domains of influence. The constellation of Gemini, represented by the twins, reflects the duality inherent in the relationship between Enki and Enlil. Just as the twins in the sky are depicted holding hands or facing each other, Enki and Enlil were often depicted as complementary forces, each contributing to the balance and harmony of the cosmos. The twin symbolism also shows up in the twin pillars of Hercules, which stood at the entrance to the Strait of Gibraltar and guarded the passage into the unknown beyond. Also, the twin pillars of Boaz and Jachin can be seen on the High Priestess tarot card, where the Papist sits at the entrance to the sacred realm. Twin pillars represent the opposites of creation and are sometimes shown with a third pillar that stands for the unification of those opposites. The union is found between the human heart and mind, in the magician standing between the pillars, connecting heaven and earth. The figure of the magician is reflected in Mercury, the ruler of Gemini. Mercury has a dual nature with Hermes, who was the only being who could go down to the underworld and return without paying a price. Hermes is a guide to souls and bringer of inspiration. He's the god of crossroads and passageways, bridging the conscious and unconscious worlds. Hermes is the god of alchemy and magic, a transgressor of boundaries and agent of chaos, but he's also the means through which the opposites are balanced, contained and healed. Long before the Greeks imagined Hermes, with his caduceus entwined by twin serpents, the goddess cults embodied the duality of life within one image, the goddess herself. During the age of Gemini, starting 6500 BCE, there was an abundance of double-headed and twin goddesses, but one of the oldest double goddess figures was found at Avdeevo in Russia. It was carved by mammoth hunters around 20,000 BCE and shows two Venus figures back to back, shaped to fit together, with one figure upside down. Perhaps the one facing down represents death, while the other stands for life. More twin goddess figures were found at Çatal Höyük around 7,500 BCE. Some of the figures are like Siamese twins, while others show one woman with two heads. Many have bird-like features or are marked with patterns or chevrons, as seen on the bizarre disc-shaped figures found in Kültepe dated to about 3000 BCE. The twin heads look like mushrooms, but they reflect the local landscape of Cappadocia with its fairy chimneys. The double goddess figures represent the dual principle of life and death, the cycles of nature, and perhaps the light and dark goddess contained within one. Later, these two-headed figures were split into two goddesses and represent the dual principles, still related but now separate. For example, Demeter and Persephone were worshipped together as the two goddesses at Eleusis and stood for winter and spring, death and rebirth. We see a similar arrangement with the sisters Inanna and Ereshkigal in Sumer, the light and dark goddesses who represent life and death. Inanna undergoes a descent into her sister's realm in the underworld in order to renew the life force. Another symbol related to the goddess cults is the double-headed axe, which symbolizes duality and unity in one, also called the Labrys, from the Lydian word for the axe, and the root of the word labyrinth. As a symbol of the goddess, it is usually shown held by a woman in the art of the Minoan religion. The blades were often curved to represent the crescent moon in its waxing and waning phases. So the double-headed axe represents the marriage of the opposites and the cycles of time within eternity. In Egyptian astrology, the Gemini constellation was called the two stars, or Pimhai, which means the united. The Dendera zodiac depicts the sign as a man and a woman, symbolizing duality, but they're holding hands, so the opposites are united. This idea is also found in the Sed Festival, where the symbolic death and rebirth of the pharaoh was acted out in a shamanistic ritual that involved a document called The Secret of the Two Partners. The Sed Festival was a way to renew the pharaoh's power and right to rule. He would descend into the underworld and become one with Osiris, the god of the dead, before returning to the living. The pharaoh was identified with Horus while alive, but Horus was also in constant battle with Seth, who killed Osiris. In the festival, the pharaoh received the secret knowledge that enabled him to overcome the duality between Horus and Seth, and was then known as the Two Lords. In astrology, Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac. Gemini is the mercurial messenger of the cosmos, weaving threads of communication, intellect, and adaptability. Symbolized by the twins, Gemini embodies duality and versatility, reflecting the multifaceted nature of human consciousness. Ruled by Mercury, the planet of thought and expression, Gemini challenge the swift currents of mental agility and linguistic prowess. Gemini holds a deeper esoteric significance. At its core, Gemini symbolizes the interplay of opposites, the dance of light and shadow, yin and yang, masculine and feminine. Within this dynamic tension lies the potential for integration and transcendence, as the individual navigates the polarities of existence with grace and insight. Corresponding to the human body, Gemini governs the arms, hands, and lungs, an area of profound importance in esoteric philosophy. The arms and hands are instruments of expression and connection, enabling us to interact with the world and manifest our intentions. Through gestures and touch, we bridge the gap between inner thought and outer reality, shaping our experience with every action. In esoteric teachings, the lungs are often associated with the breath of life, the sacred rhythm that sustains our physical existence and links us to the cosmic pulse of creation. It is through the breath that we attune ourselves to the flow of universal energy, harmonizing mind, body, and spirit in a seamless symphony of being. Like the twins of Gemini, the arms and lungs symbolize duality of existence, the perpetual dance of giving and receiving, action and reflection. Through the energy of Gemini, we embrace the fluidity of change and explore the complexities of life with curiosity and adaptability. As we honor the esoteric essence of Gemini, we recognize the inherent unity underlying apparent diversity, the interconnectedness of all things in existence. In embracing the dynamic interplay of opposites, we discover the sacred truth that within every contradiction lies a seed of integration, and within every duality the promise of wholeness.